It's great to see everybody. It's my second time speaking at VeloxCon. So last year we discussed about the importance of SQL. I'm going to reiterate the same phrase. I'm going to keep saying it. SQL is king. I don't know if it's my age or what's going on, but it takes me 2 hours. I have to wake up 2 hours earlier to use pandas versus SQL. It's maybe just me, but the importance of that language and our ability to execute it against our corpus of data remains crucial. And I have to say I'm very excited about where we are as an industry in terms of data and data processing. And it's for the first time when I see things coming together in a completely different shape than we used to do it in the past, right? We used to have these proprietary formats. We used to have a lot of things in created and closed ecosystem. But why do people store data? Why do you store data? You store data for downstream processing, analysis, and things around that nature. Keep building closed ecosystems. Keep building enclosed data formats. Ain't going to help anybody. We are at the time when we have the capacity and the power to consume it at large scales. Take a look at generative AI, take a look at other stuff, right? So based on that, about 3 years ago, when we started to build our data model factory, we called it data model factory. We based it on Presto and Iceberg. Those were the two things that we built internally in order to train models at large scale inside IBM. And eventually, after some evolutions and conversations, we ended up building an offering. And this offering is based on multi-engines and open source formats. We use Presto for interactive workloads, and we use Spark for batch, ETL, ELT. Why is that? We believe that engines themselves have, architectural designs and approaches to problems that we need to exploit. And yes, it introduces operational complexity. Having multi-engines is complicated. But fronting that and making sure you drive on top of open formats, unified layers of governance and metadata, as well as workload managers, right off the bat will get you where you want. And moreover, we are investing heavily in additional elements around Presto and Spark, which includes Velox, which includes Gluten, which includes all other engines that we need to bring in from the price performance perspective. But these architectures, what you guys see today, is what will define the way the lakehouses of the future will look like. What does it mean per se if you look at it in a very simplistic way? And we had this conversation many, many times. Your typical processing in any enterprise right now implies transformations and replications and moving data from point A to point B and keep going, right? What happens right now, and you'll see much more often from now on, is the fact that relying on open formats, using the appropriate engine on top of it, without moving data, without having to recreate your ELT and ETL pipelines, will become the standard. How do we get there is not going to be an easy way, right? But we are at the beginning of that journey. I see a lot of good practices. Meta is doing a lot of good work in that domain. They are actually using a very similar architecture internally. They have a multi-engine for everything they use. And we start to see that more and more on any enterprise. They like that choice of changing engines to reduce their cost or actually increase their operational efficiency. We also have characteristics around multi-cloud deployments. What does that mean? A lot of our customers, and I have a vested interest to make money, so definitely I will accommodate them. They do prefer certain things to run equally on-prem, on cloud, this cloud, the other cloud. So I'm not going to be very prescriptive around my deployment type. So it's one of our characteristics, and I think we are the only vendor that currently brings a multi-cloud approach with on-prem distributions for Presto, Velox, and Spark together. On top of it, we need to focus on, as I said, security right off the bat, and your ability to control your workloads. It's a complex environment. It's a little bit more complex than single engines, like Spark only, like Snowflake only. It's a little bit more complex, but it has immense benefits when it comes down to execution. And obviously, we focus on AI ready. I didn't just put that there. Typically, I do, but in this particular case, I strongly believe that making data ready for AI, and I'm not talking about only structured data, I'm talking about unstructured and unstructured processing, it will be the next frontier of the workloads that we need to win. There is no in between. We can't avoid that conversation. It happens today. It happens in vectors only. I don't think vectors are sufficient. I think it's a combination of things that will eventually make AI successful with data. Will it change? Oh, it keeps highlighting the multi-engine strategy. So at the core of everything we do is Velox. Why Velox? Well, it gives us the ability to go back to a C-level execution. It gives us price performance. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the vested interest of me making money versus the vested interest of me building technology. There are two separate trajectories, and I'm going to try to express one versus the other. Standing in front of your customers, and I think it's an important characteristic, even if you don't think it in those terms, and I'm not going to hijack the open source aspect of it, but sitting in front of your customer, no matter who your customer is, could be your boss or could be somebody in line of business that is consuming your products, their ability to execute reliably and with reduced cost, it's of utmost importance today. The sizes of data will continue to increase, and there is nothing you can do about that. That's an equation you cannot change. But what you can do is actually drive the right execution towards that data sets. And for us, we strongly believe, when we have proof internally on TPCDS at 100 terabytes, that it's actually the best execution engine right now on the market, period. And it's only at the beginning. In addition to it, obviously, Gluten plays an important role for ecosystem, primarily from the Spark perspective. The same performance that we can bring in Presto through Velox, we can gain inside Spark through Gluten. And this is not a joke. We have, and Binwei earlier showed slides on the performance analysis. And it's our best chance as an industry to go against Databricks Photon. Apologies for any Databricks employees, but that's a reality. We need to go on open source. We have to. We have to contribute and we have to work together. That's not how we make money. Having a proprietary engine, trying to squeeze the last ounce of performance there, it makes sense for a while, but we need to actually work together. I don't think it's a one company job to be able to do that. And what are we focusing on, right? Presto C++. We focus on these three elements. Presto C++ is Presto with Velox. Definitely number two is one of the crucial aspects on where we need to go. And I'm saying this will be upon us, whether you work for your CDO and your customer internal, whether you are selling to your customers, whether you are doing things in general, execution at speed, given the amount of data we will start generating and we will start seeing, remains crucial. Deeper format support, absolutely, it's imperative in order to retain the ability to not move data. Again, that's a no-no right now in the industry, or at least not yet, but it will be there. And tighter architecture is making sure that it works as it should be and as designed together with surrounding things around it. Iceberg integration. Why Iceberg? I'm not going to take a stab again against Databricks, but I will. Delta Lake is not really open. That's it. It's as simple as that. I don't have any other comments. It's a beautiful format. We love it, we support it, we all have to. It's not really open source. I don't know how else to say it. And therefore, iceberg. We are heavy behind it, and we need to bring it in. We need to bring it in Presto. We need to make sure that it works, so we all have a chance. Not some of us have a chance. We need to focus on coordinator performance. We need to focus on optimizations and query optimizations. As I said, SQL is king. I strongly believe that remains one of the most used, and it will remain one of the most used interactive ways to deal with your data. And I know pandas are good, and I'm not going to say anything blasphemous here, but in general, 90% of the usage will continue to be SQL. And another important thing, there were some sins of the past with forks and other stuff that I don't want to bring up again. I just did, but just saying. We need to bring federation inside Presto to the point of where it becomes the only engine when it comes down to interactive execution and federation. And we are doing heavily into that domain. What do we do in Apache Gluten? This is C acceleration for Spark. And that's it. I don't have to say anything else. Like, we need to use Velox to accelerate Spark similarly with how we do Presto. And all of you are welcome to contribute and actually start to learn and understand, but we are doing it. We are doing it in open source. Gluten is an Apache project, and we are accelerating Spark. Lots of work to do. Of course, we need to support Delta Lake formats. But not only that, Iceberg and Hoodie and other are very important characteristics on how are we going to make this useful. And the rest are clear, like PySpark implementation, ingest optimizations, acceleration, and GPUs. And that is another characteristic. We will end up, when everything, all this boring stuff about formats and stuff around that nature goes away, we will end up into another era of acceleration. And Velox Wave gives us a nice, good way. NVIDIA is playing a significant role between Meta, IBM, and NVIDIA, building GPU acceleration for Velox, which will benefit both Presto and Spark. There are others that will join, AMD, Neural Blade. Kudos to all of you by joining this. It's important. I think the benefits that we are bringing into AI can equally apply to data. We have memory bandwidth problem, we have that type of problems, but we are working through it. And I think it's one of the next frontiers that we will tackle, as long as we will continue to retain a way of executing with the community around Velox, Velox Wave, formats, and open source without thinking about all the financial benefits that we will eventually get. And probably you look at me as being one of the most likely offenders in the room. I will tell you that I have zero interest in just making money. I have a vested interest for the industry to move forward. And I think it's important that we come together. By the way, congratulations for the Velox Con. It's probably twice the size of what was last year, and I hope next year will be 4 times the size of what is this year. So I think it's amazing. I'm not going to brag about these numbers from Binway. He already did. And I'm going to end up with, what are we focusing on Velox? It's our shared engines for everything we do. End of conversation. It's our future as a company internally, as well as this is where we will drive the industry for everything that remains out of IBM Might. We will push in that direction. And these are the main things that we are focusing on: formats and file system support, SQL and function coverage, performance, and we are doing significant amount of work in research to gain optimizations and exchange optimization and GPU accelerations and things around that nature. I'm going to end up with this. We are all in. We as IBM, we are all in open source. We believe in it. We work with it. We are not only leeching out of it, we are also contributing back. And I think it's good to see us coming together, defining the future of lakehouses, defining the future of technology, and I really hope that Databricks will join much closer with Iceberg rather than Delta Lake. I'm really waiting for that. They are one of the strongest forces in the industry today, and we need them close. So is Snowflake, which they bet in those formats. And I think a lot more people can contribute to Velox. It's one of the coolest engines that we had in recent history. So enjoy the conference, and thank you for listening.